So with that, let's get into our State of the City address in our PowerPoint. I'm going to be highlighting a number of things from our businesses as well as a few things from the Chamber as well. So as you can see, our mission is Leaders for Community Prosperity and Advocates for Business. Our organization represents nearly 500 businesses locally that participate in our organization. Each year we do a business survey of our membership, so I'm going to report on some of the results we have here. The first question you see on the screen is how your net income compared from 2015 to 2014. Positive signs here from our results. No one is in the law or reduced by 10% or more category, which we saw that last year, and more businesses reported in the up over 10% category compared to last year. So strong signs from our businesses in terms of sales. In terms of number of employees, it's similar to last year, but this year we do have some reporting a reduction of more than 10%. So some sectors seeing a bigger reduction, and we can talk a little bit about some of the impacts with survey results coming up in future slides too. In terms of the sales expectations for 2016, greater optimism here from our membership. We see 80% see sales increasing in 2016. Again, a growth rate that we love to see and love good results when we talk to our members. In terms of employment expectations, vast majority staying even in terms of number of employees. The overall results almost identical to last year, so no big changes in 2016 compared to 2015. So the big question, are you able to find quality employees? More companies are reporting the answer to this is no, that difficulty in finding employees has increased. For those that this applies to, almost half. We had 46% of our businesses that actually hire employees that are struggling to find quality employees. So top issues that we heard from our members, technical skills was overall one of the top ones listed. And then some of the things you read about, hear about when you talk to business people is the soft skills. People that will show up, work hard, have those people skills that they're looking for. That was another one that was especially called out with our survey results. Number one issue that is impacting your business from selection below. Top two issues 2 years in a row now, educated workforce and government regulations. Other issues included the upcoming election that has people uneasy of which way they should plan, changing technologies, and oil prices. To which areas should the state's budget surplus be applied? And this one, we have a large support for reducing taxes. I think it's close to 65% of our businesses reference that. A smaller portion on property tax relief. However, I would highlight that not all of our respondents own buildings and pay that property tax directly. Also, a note here is transportation takes a big jump. Transportation was not listed as a major issue, at least was, but only by a very, very small percentage of our membership. But in terms of utilizing the state's budget surplus, that jumped dramatically in this option. So people do see an opportunity to use the budget surplus in transportation. This echoes our position earlier on transportation investments. It also echoes the city's business survey, and not to steal from Rick's slides, but in that survey that just wrapped up late last year, it showed little support for additional taxes to pay for transportation, but our slide here obviously rates that using the budget surplus is something that businesses would support. Do you feel the economy is on the right track at this time? No big change over last year, very similar. About 50% say yes, and then about 50% say either a no or uncertain, and that's probably split close to an even ratio there. Does your business plan to expand its facilities in the next 3 years? Again, very similar answers to last year. We see some opportunities, which we're excited about, to see businesses grow and expand here in Eden Prairie. And then final piece from our survey, items you most like about Eden Prairie. Very good business climate. We've heard that year after year. Strong sense of community, both from the business and personal sense. Parks always are rated very high, and I know the city's very proud of those as well. And then other opportunities, or we could have said negatives, but some of the things that were highlighted here were to reduce property taxes and build a better roadway system. So to quickly kind of run through some chamber highlights as well, 2015, our membership employs over 32,000 people on the local basis. Average monthly attendance at our meetings and events was over 500. We are the largest single city chamber in the metro area. And our key focus areas in 2015 were networking and programs, public policy, community building, and leadership. We have strong partnerships, obviously a great working relationship with the school district and the city. We pride ourselves on that, and I think that benefits everyone. We work together to keep Eden Prairie a place that businesses want to be, and we'll continue to put efforts into that moving forward. We partner with a number of other organizations, including on a quarterly basis with the Bloomington, Edina, and Richfield chambers on our beer programs. And then we look to grow our programs and attendance, provide unique events and opportunities for our businesses to make connections. Each year, we provide a number of different business awards, education awards, and scholarships. We, in a typical year, will give out $5,000 or more in scholarships to local students to advance their education. This past year, we did an extensive strategic planning process that puts us on a great path for our next 3 years. So our strategic plan for 2016 and through 2018. Goal number 1 is grow the influence of the Eden Prairie business community through proactive advocacy and thoughtful public policy initiatives. This would include, as you heard earlier, our positioning on political issues that will impact businesses. We have a process of reviewing issues through our Public Policy Committee, with them giving a recommendation that is forwarded on to our Board of Directors if we are going to take a position, and then our board makes a final determination. Our goals and objectives for the year will be meeting individually with our elected officials. We'll strengthen our communications with our membership as well as the community at large. Goal number 2 is strengthen the organization and ensure growth through bold leadership. This piece would include, we are meeting with our top 50 employers to understand their needs and share our vision. We want to strengthen our communication plan specifically with those groups as well as all of our members, and focus our efforts on quarterly signature events. And then item number 3 is continue to strengthen our networking and business programs, hold more dialogue and roundtable discussions with our Eden Prairie stakeholders, and effectively lobby to strengthen Eden Prairie as a strong business community that businesses want to be in, and also strengthen the marketplace. So I mentioned earlier our quarterly programs, our big signature events. The first one coming up will be on Saturday, March 19th. It is our Home Landscape and Garden Expo. We are pretty much sold out on booth space, as we are every year. This event attracts between 1,500 and 2,000 local residents to it, and it's held at Grace Church. I mentioned earlier the TCYP Summit, our inaugural event. We have chambers from across the Twin Cities that are also partnering on this event. It is going to be a great event. The speakers we have lined up, a lot of them would be keynotes if we had more keynote addresses, but we only have 2. So some of those speakers you might see as keynote at other events are part of our breakout sessions. Our golf tournament is at Bear Path on June 6th. It's a great event that we're very proud of. We typically have 124 golfers at that and sell out the sponsorship opportunities. And then perhaps one of the as world-class an event as we can put together is going to be our gala event on October 15th at the new Vikings Stadium. The Vikings are our event sponsor already this year, and we are one of the very first events that will be held at the new stadium. So we hope you join us for that. And then, as we highlight every year, we do typically over 120 different events and programs, and it's a great way to bring our business community together, events for breakfast, lunch, after hours, and we get a wide variety of people that attend those. So if you have not been to one lately, please try and join us this evening for our next after hours event. And then finally, I always like to end with our continued partnership with the schools. A number of years ago, we started the high school student membership program. I know we have some of our student members here today. I'm going to ask them to stand and be recognized. The reason we started this program was to help our businesses connect directly with the students, and we want to continue that effort. We've had some great stories of how the students get involved, they get mentorships, job shadow opportunities, and build kind of their resume for the future, as well as understanding what jobs and career paths are out there. We also created a career fair a couple years ago, and we will continue to go down that path and offer that and partner again with our school district to connect businesses to the students. And then this year, there'll be a bigger focus on how can we provide more meaningful opportunities for the students. Is there more mentorships, job shadow opportunities that the chamber, again, can play a role of connecting the businesses to those students? So stay tuned for that, and we welcome your involvement. At this time, I'm going to turn the program over to Kurt Trigestad, our school superintendent, who will give us an update on Eden Prairie Schools. So, Kurt? I guess it's that way.
I think you get a hand. Let's give him a hand. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here. A year ago, I was not able to be here, and Josh Swanson, the assistant superintendent, took my place. So I just want to say thanks for that. A year late, but he did a good job. So I'd like to echo that we have a wonderful working relationship with both the chamber and the city, and that also is a part of. Because of our leadership, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce some of our leadership that's here. We do have, I believe, our entire board here today, so when I call your name, would you please stand and be recognized? Elaine Larrabee, Dave Espy, John Kohner, Greg Lehman, Holly Link, Renee Jacobus, and Adam Seidel. Thank you for your service, folks. Appreciate it. And I did acknowledge Josh, but I most of the cabinet, my immediate people that I work with are here. So would you just raise your hand and be acknowledged for your work and service? Hold them high. Come on. Thank you. So again, we're appreciative of the opportunity to be here and to share. As we've talked about for the last 4 years for our strategic plan, our mission is to inspire each student every day. And we talk about each. We went through a process where is it all, is it every? No, it's each child. And our goal is to reach the needs of each child and bring them to their highest level. We have almost 9,000 students in our system, and it is a challenging mission, but we are gladly taking this on. So we want to talk a little bit about today about how we're working to achieve that mission, and give you some updates on some of the successes that we're having and some plans for the future. So what's happened in a year? Well, we have, in the past year, had 3 perfect ACT scores from our students. Nationally, that's less than 0.1% of students who take that ACT exam. And since 2011, our school district, or our high school, has had 1 student with a perfect score, at least 1 student. So it's a wonderful thing. We also, through another process that's sponsored by Northwestern University, found that we have 12 students that are considered in the top 5% of gifted students in the country. And it's a unique honor. And so we had those 12 kids of the more of 20,000 across the country that were acknowledged for this. As far as our schools, our elementary schools are thriving. We have 4 elementary schools that have been recognized in the highest category of Title I schools. That's a federal designation, by the way, using the state's multiple measurement rating. All of our elementary schools have been designated or given this designation over the past years. So we are very fortunate to have great elementary schools. And just to note, Eagle Heights isn't there because they're not a Title I school. But it's also a great building, a great program. We have 16 National Merit semifinalists this year. That number puts us within the top 4 of any high school in the state. And we have a total of 303 AP scholars, and we'll talk about what that is in just a moment. We also have very gifted staff. And these are just an example of the people we have working in our buildings. Sarah Nelson and Jean Tushy were recognized recently by TIES. It's a local collaborative out of the St. Paul area that we belong to for their work with kids using educational technology. They were chosen because of their innovation, their leadership, and using technology to impact their students' learning and growth. And then we also had Brent Bovitz, who was recognized by IXL. That's a platform that has programming for kids in all the core subjects, and he was recognized as one of the top 100 teachers in the world using that platform. Again, very proud of that. We also are very fortunate to have wonderful athletics and activities. So this year, so far, our girls soccer team took second in the 2A state championship. We had Brianna Lupo and Meg Vanderkinderen, who were named the All-State soccer team. And as a football player, J.D. Spielman, if you didn't get a chance to watch J.D., hopefully you will when he gets to Nebraska. He being a football person and a former coach, I have to say he was one of the most exciting players that I've ever had the opportunity to watch. We were very, very fortunate to have him in our community. And he was named the All-Metro Everything. And he literally pulled down about every award and played 4 different positions, running back, wide receiver, defensive back, and a kick returner. So we wish him luck as he moves on to Nebraska next year. But we also can be extremely proud of our band. If you haven't got a chance to see our marching band, you should. They've had a great year. They were 5th in the St. Louis Super Regional, that out of 63 bands, and that qualified them for the Nationals. But we also won the state Class 3A marching band competition here in the state. So it's a great thing. And they went on to compete at the Grand Nationals and did very well there. It's something to be very proud of. And if you don't know, that's my background is band, so it's a good thing. I try not to be biased. And also, the young man that's up there in the upper corner is Mark Henry. And not only are we solid in the activity side of it, the marching band side, but we also have great musicians. Mark was chosen to be a part of the Honors Performance Series that will be performing at Carnegie Hall in New York. And we've had kids there before, so it's a great honor for him and for our district. This doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. Con McCartan, named by the Sun Current and readers as the top high school principal in the area. Con is a wonderful building leader and a hometown guy. He does great work for our kids. And as well as our high school was named the top high school. So we're very, very proud of that based on community voting. So enough bragging. Let's talk about what we're doing. College and career, because that's really what our goal is working here. So since 2007, we've maintained the largest average percentage of graduates enrolled in college of any school in the Lake Conference. That's in Edina, Minnetonka, Hopkins, Wayzata. And 87% of our seniors go on to attend college right after high school. And what the great stat after that is that 95% of those students continue through college to a second year. So often we see kids that will go and try and not be able to make it. Our kids are prepared for college when they leave here. We had 1,380 kids taking college credit courses in our buildings. Now, there's a couple of really strong points here is that, number one, our kids are excelling and learning probably things far beyond what you and I did when we were that age. But for parents, many of our kids leave our district with a year or more of college done. It's a great savings, it's a great investment for our district, and it serves benefits on and on. And just to note that that number does not include our PSEO kids who leave the district to go to college. That's the kids that are in our buildings. So we have 32 AP college prep courses. Of those, 15 are AP courses, which kids could take tests, and if they get a certain score, they can go to any school in the country and they'll be accepted. We have 6 college in the schools courses, 4 Project Lead the Way, which is a STEM initiative, 5 business courses, and we have Calculus 3 and Advanced Biology, 2 courses there that are not AP, not college, but they are definitely college level, and most often kids get credit for those as they move on. So the kids that take these AP courses take the tests, and I think it's an indication of how our staff and the kids have done. So every year, the state names 2 students, a male and a female, as state AP scholars. And since 2008, 11 of the 16 AP scholars have been Eden Prairie students. So it's a great testament to the staff and the kids there. We also want to make sure we prepare kids for moving on in college. We did partner with the Chamber to host the career fair, as Pat talked about, and it was a great event, and we were very, very appreciative of that. We hope that it continues to grow. We also partner with Hennepin Technical College. We provide some programs and some cross content, and they can carry those courses into Hennepin Tech or anywhere in the MnSCU system as they move on. And it's, again, a great benefit to our parents and our kids. Until recently, we were the only school in the state that had early entrance day. Mounds View has recently started this, but for 14 years, our school district, our high school, has had colleges come in the fall and give kids admission letters on site. And this year, 200 plus seniors, 31% of our class of 2016, were handed acceptance letters at that event, and they know where they're going to college as of that day. So let's talk a little bit about what we know about our community and how we react with them. Most years we will have a survey that we go through like the city and like the Chamber does. We use Morris Leatherman Company, and that's been a consistent vendor for us, and they do a lot of work across the district, and I believe they work with the city at times as well. So here's what they found. Again, some bragging. 92% of our residents believe that the quality of our schools is excellent or good. And then to add to that, to pull it out, 98% of our parents believe that we're excellent to good. So that's a wonderful amount of feedback. But compared to 3 years ago, 42% of those surveyed believe our schools are better or much better. And another 42 that say we're about the same, we're getting better. So above that 80% mark, we're very pleased with that as well. A record number and percentage of residents believe we're headed in the right direction. Over 75% of those polled. So, where are we headed? We continue to talk about each student, and I would be remiss if I didn't stop right here and talk a little bit about the referendum that was passed 2 years ago in November, a year ago November. And without that referendum, it would be a very, very different presentation today. And so I just want to continue to say thank you to the Chamber for your support. Thank you to the city and the city council for their public support of that. It makes a huge difference for us, and it's allowing us to reach the kids that you're seeing the results. So we're going to continue to focus on each. We have that strategic plan now that's 4 years old. And our goals are ambitious, but we're going to make it. So, thanks to that referendum, Question 2, we were able to lower our class sizes in kindergarten and first grade to really work with kids to make sure they're ready to read and reading by grade level at grade 3. This year, we made that goal with our third graders. I should say last year, we just monitored or had the board look at the data, and really pleased that we met that goal, and we'll continue to get better at that. We've also hired math and reading specialists to help our 2nd through 6th grade students and staff. We have coaches there that are making a difference. We had a study done, Hazel Reinhardt, I think most of you probably have heard of Hazel, demographer, and so our board requires that we have a 5-year rolling plan, and we have to have some idea of what's happening with our community. And so, just broadly, here's some information. We're going to see our enrollment continue to decline, anywhere from that 2.3 to 4%. And folks, it's mostly because we're aging in place. This, frankly, it's such a nice place to be that many of the folks that are empty nesters aren't leaving our community. They're staying here. And we're not building out more homes. And so we're seeing less students per household coming to our school. It's a natural process that happens. And so we have to work with that decline and make sure we're prepared for it. The other thing that's interesting is that we will continue to become more diverse. We see about a 6% increase in our race and ethnicity over the next 5 to 8 years. And one thing I think was really interesting about that stat is that when you tie economics or free and reduced lunch to that, what they found is that even though our ethnicity is going to rise, our free and reduced or kids living in poverty is not going to. So you can make of that stat what you want, but I think the people and the students of color that we have coming into our district are different than the refugees and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So the other thing that we talked about with Hazel was what's going to happen to our schools. So she had some ideas. So what we know is that some of our schools are not full, and some of our schools are. And so we've got to look at that and how do we balance that moving forward. So Eden Lake and Cedar Ridge have space available and will have going into the future. And they probably are not going to see an increase in enrollment. And again, that's due to less births. Other schools like Forest Hills and Oak Point are bursting at the seams. It's a little change from those of you that have been in the community for a while. It was the opposite probably 8 years ago. So we've seen a shift. The middle school is right where it should be in terms of capacity. And as you might understand, as this bubble of our Eden Prairie baby boom came through, our high school will have some space because we just don't have as many high school kids. So given the challenge, how do we move forward? We do have to make sure we understand what happened in the past, and to not acknowledge what happened with the boundaries and that things back in 2005 and beyond would be foolish for us. So I just want to say we're very aware of that process, and as we move forward, we want to honor our community's thoughts. So we are starting a process called Designing Pathways, a roadmap to reach each student. We started with an internal audit of how we're using our space and where we have space. And there'll be 2 phases to this process. The first phase will start soon, and it will be talking about academic programming. As business owners, you know that you can't have your business remain static and the same for year after year, decade after decade. Schools are sometimes accused of not changing enough or fast enough. So we need to look at what we're offering and what kinds of things does our community value in terms of some changes. So we know that it's changing rapidly. We know that our teachers' roles are changing because they're no longer the content masters, as many of us went to school. They carry around the world in their pocket or in their iPad or in their laptop now. So we have to change how we deliver. We also want to talk about voice and choice for kids. And one of the goals of this are the 4 C's for us. We're embedding those: creativity, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. which will align right with the things that Pat was talking about in terms of soft skills that our employers want to find. Just to be smart isn't good enough anymore. You have to be able to work with people and be able to get through projects. So, in this process, we're going to have a task force of community and school district people. There'll be a process that'll be advertised next week about that. We're not ready to quite roll that out yet, but we do want to hear from the community. And so what kinds of things might surface? And this is, I will say, this is my list, no one else's, and it's kind of based on other things that have happened around the Twin Cities. So in terms of programming, do we want more choice schools like Eagle Heights? Do we want academies? Some schools have medical academies that start in middle school and carry up through the high school. Do we want internships, externships? Do we want online or hybrid classes and programs? Do we want maker spaces, which is a big deal now? Kids hands-on, creating engineering. Do we have new academic programs? I mentioned medical. Aeronautics might be a choice. Computer programmer coding. We need to be reflective of the needs of the community and the needs of our kids. And the reality is, our younger kids, we don't know what jobs we're preparing them for. So we have to be able to prepare our programming to help those kids get to that point. So we'll go through this process now this spring when we're going to bring the task force together. They'll do their work. They'll make a recommendation. That information will come to the board. And the second phase of this will deal with facilities. And as you might imagine, if we have a program that comes through and the board says, yeah, this is something that we really are interested in doing, program affects space and how you use it. So the second phase of this is to look at what the committee and task force has brought forward and see how does that fit within our current spaces, how does it fit within our current configuration of grades, etc. And that will take place next fall, and the goal is to have a recommendation to our board who has the final decision on all of this either December or January of next year. So we want to make sure we do this process very, very well. I just want to emphasize again, there have been no decisions made on what the outcome is going to be. This needs to be reflective of our community. And the other assurance that I will give you that is, and I think I can speak for the board, that we will make no changes that diminish in any way our exemplary academic program that we have in place right now. What we want to do is enhance it and meet the needs of our students. So I hope you follow along with this, and we just want to do a great job for the community and for the business community as well. So thank you, and appreciate your time. It's my honor to announce Rick Getchell, who is also a Wisconsinite. We won't talk anymore about that, right, Rick? Okay. Not this year.
Thank you, Kurt. Similar comments from the city with the school and the chamber. Working together on a daily basis, whether it's business surveys, career fairs, joint meetings and discussions with policymakers, I think we have an excellent relationship. And if you spend time outside of Eden Prairie, you realize that isn't always the case in every other city. So I'm very proud to work in such a great community where we have such excellent school system and business chamber. In terms of introductions as well, we have two of our elected officials here this afternoon that I'd like to introduce. We have Councilmember Brad Aho and Councilmember Ron Case here. If you could stand up. And we also have a number of city staff members. If you could also raise your hand from the various departments and spread out throughout the room. Thank you so much. So when I was thinking about the presentation and putting together highlights of projects and initiatives in Eden Prairie over the past year and what's coming up next year, I thought I'd do what our city does when we have new employees, maybe even when we had Money Magazine come into town to look at the city, or even our bond rating agencies. We take them on a drive. We take them on a drive through Eden Prairie and around Eden Prairie to kind of hit those spots to show you what's happening. Now, the last road trip that I went on, unfortunately, was a little more hectic with my 3 almost teenage daughters and 20 hours to Washington, D.C. this summer. So I think the road trip that we're going to take may be more historically appropriate in a schooner. However, I know you guys all need to be back by 1 o'clock, so we'll take a more age-appropriate vehicle. We could take a Tesla. Tesla is located in Eden Prairie. So if we all jump in a Tesla, and we're going to head out from Olympic Hills, and we're going to head west. So if we head west, our first stop in Eden Prairie, if you kind of visualize Eden Prairie, and if you don't know all the details of the city, I'm gonna lead you through it. And if we head west, we get to Starring Lake Park. And some of the neat updates at Starring Lake Park would be our outdoor fitness program that we started this past year. We have some excellent fitness classes inside our community center and a lot of great instructors. And for the first time last year, we took many of those free classes out into our parks and into the community. Kids, adults, whether it was Zumba, yoga, different activities, we thought it was a great extension of our fitness program. So we had several hundred people that were a part of that, and we're going to keep doing that as well. Also, if you've been to Starring Lake Park and you kind of go down the hill, you notice that we have a pretty large play equipment system there. And that system is about 20 years old, and we're going to be replacing that in 2016, this coming year. And the neat thing about that is that the theme of the play equipment is going to highlight music and art, and that's going to match what you see with the amphitheater there in the music series that we have. And if you're in Starring Lake Park or many of our other parks, another new thing that you're going to see next year is a city healthy food trailer. We actually started with a food truck, but they're more expensive than we thought, so we got a food trailer. But just don't worry about the trailer part. Just pretend it has 4 wheels. We can still drive it around, and we're gonna put a wrap on the truck that's going to tell you that that is a healthy food truck, and it's going to provide healthy food options and snacks for adults and kids at dozens, well, actually close to hundreds of events if you include all the family events and music events that we have in our parks. And the Mayor's Health and Wellness Committee, again, a group that includes school and business leaders as well, felt that it was very important for the city to kind of lead the way with healthy eating and lead by example. So a few years ago, I think I mentioned if this prospect was going to fail, we would do cheese curds from our home state of Wisconsin, but we're gonna stick with the healthy food. Let's keep heading west, going past Flying Cloud Fields, the airport, the future Miracle Field that I'd like to note. There's been a fundraising group that's been very active in bringing that to fruition, and that will be brought to fruition this year. Fully adaptable play field for children to play baseball. So we're really excited that that's going to be coming to Eden Prairie. Also, if you think about the city and in this portion of Eden Prairie, let's say from Eden Prairie Road, from Flying Cloud Drive, all the way up to Highway 212, we're developing those last acres of property in Eden Prairie. So if you're down Eden Prairie Road and you're driving by Dean Edstrom's house and you're heading down to Flying Cloud Drive, you'll see hundreds of new homes, the remaining properties that are being built in that area as you head down to the Lion's Tap. But also you'll see as you go up toward 212 and Pioneer Trail, and we've talked about this before, is a green neighborhood, a very innovative, 100% certified green neighborhood that's going in. And that won an award this year. Actually, the developer of that project won a 2015 Green Path Leadership Award for having the first 100% green neighborhood. A lot of different features in that neighborhood include a park shelter with a green and solar roof, community gardens, solar path lighting, eco-turf grass. That's about 36 homes also where a majority of them are priced in the $350,000, $60,000 to $400,000 area, of which we see a need for that mid-market price point with single-family homes in Eden Prairie. There are a few homes that are a little higher priced, but it's an interesting project. It's been a model for other similar green neighborhoods in the state. And then finally, what I think we're going to see a lot more of in Eden Prairie are these 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 lot developments, whether it was where a former church had been near the Duck Lake area to this project here on Blossom Road near Pioneer Trail. That's a 12-unit single-family lot south of Pioneer Trail and just east of Bennett Place. Those remaining small parcels that are being assembled, because quite frankly, Eden Prairie is being built out, and we're going to be entering a redevelopment stage. And I'm going to have some examples of that. But as we keep going, let's keep going toward Riley Lake, the western border of Eden Prairie. And the highlight there would be, not only do we have a very vibrant park with a lake, with a beach, with swimming, and a great program that the Lions have, Let's Go Fishing, lots of excellent historic properties that are in that area. And just recently, last year, we received a grant to construct a kiosk and then place these interpretive historic panels that are at the site. So on the left, that's our Heritage Preservation Commission that was a huge part of leading that project. So if you head in that direction, you'll be able to find that. However, there are certain parts of around Riley, where you're getting into Chanhassen. So if you get kind of lost in Chanhassen and you need to find your way back, you find your way back up to 212. Next year, you'll be able to know you're entering Eden Prairie because we are constructing a series of entry monument signs in our city. And we're hoping to put in anywhere from about 5 to 6 different monument signs at different points in Eden Prairie that are going to be unique to the location, but have a similar look that you see on that one that'll be on 212 and Dell. So you'll know that you're entering Eden Prairie. It's a part of a sense of community and placemaking, and that's been talked about for the last several years, and it's been programmed in our capital improvement plan for quite a while. So now as you're back into Eden Prairie, and let's head back east. So we've gone west, and now we're going to head east. You'll know you're also in Eden Prairie when you see our 4th fire station. And when we think about the fire department this past year, it's a couple highlights I want to mention from the department. Again, when we think about Eden Prairie being, close to 65,000 people, 36 square miles, and one of the larger cities, to say that we received an award this past year that there were 0 fire-related deaths in Eden Prairie is a very positive thing, and I think it's a testament to the commitment to our fire safety and our fire service. So it's been several years in a row now we received a state marshal's award for fire safety. And also in the bottom right, that's another new initiative, and that's our multicultural CERT team, or Community Emergency Response Team. So we have, and many cities have, core of volunteers, people that will step up and volunteer in a major emergency or a major event. Our city happens to have one of the larger CERT teams, but what's new is that we recently formed a multicultural CERT team because as we were talking about, or Kurt was talking about, we're obviously growing in diversity. I think as the chief said, there's 20 to 30 some languages spoken, and the last time, the time that you don't want to have a language barrier issue or a major problem is in a major event. So we're one of the first cities to actually put together a community response team that can communicate with all of our residents, everybody who lives in Eden Prairie. Oh yes, we can't forget, as we keep heading east, the Ice Castle attraction is going to open up, I believe, this weekend. It'll be open probably for about 2 weeks before spring starts. So make sure everybody heads out. It's a second year that the city's partnered with a private business to bring ice castles to Eden Prairie, and I think it was just yesterday the chamber email went out saying that there's a group discounts. You can buy group discounts to head to Ice Castle. So that's coming back this weekend. And as we continue heading toward the center of our city, let's make our way to the high school and the community center. And one of the largest projects, capital projects that the city's had in several years is our aquatics expansion. We're very excited to say that the first phase of that is now open, if you've been to the community center. In that first phase, there are 2 8-lane pools, diving boards, climbing walls, a dryland training area, more meeting and locker rooms, and then on the upper level, even expanded fitness space. That was phase 1. Phase 2, that's going to open hopefully within days, really, a month or 2, is that second phase. And that's that family-friendly phase, that kind of water park field phase with a zero depth entry warm water pool, a water play area, a 25-foot water slide, hot tub, and then extended family room. So this is a project where the council has spent many hours and many, many meetings over the last 5 years understanding that there needs to be a reinvestment in our facilities, and we're already seeing that come to fruition with the high school and all the other swim programs take advantage of that facility. So we're very excited about that. If you think about the community center, and I don't know how visible the new solar panels are, but continuing that theme of sustainability, you'll notice that we do have solar panels on top of our community center. And that was part of an initiative that is just drawing to a close right now. It's called 2040-15. It's been mentioned several years in the past, but the 15 part is by 2015, the city was working toward increasing energy efficiency in our facilities by 20% and our fleet by 40% by 2015. And we've just learned, as we're in January of 2016, that we were able to achieve that in our fleet. We were able to hit 43%. In our facilities, we were able to hit 22%. To connect that to numbers, Robert, our Public Works Director, who was talking about this at a meeting this morning, would say from the fleet perspective, we've saved so much in gasoline that if you were to buy gas at $2.50 a gallon now versus what we had 10 years ago, we've saved $760,000 alone in fuel savings. And from a facility point of view, our facility manager would say that we're saving $250,000. We're paying $250,000 less a year in energy costs. So we're very proud of that initiative that the mayor in 2004-05 really pushed, and now we're talking about what that next sustainability initiative is. We're planning on what the next program is, so look forward to that. So let's continue to head north now. We're going to go northeast, heading toward Minnetonka. We'll get close to Minnetonka, but we won't go into Minnetonka. And if you've noticed up there, lots of activity, quite a bit of construction. One of the biggest projects up there right now is the Margaret A. Cargill building. They're completing a 65,000 square foot addition to bring their foundation building to 93,000 square feet. And that's a LEED Platinum certified building as well. And it's going to feature a green roof, a geothermal system, photovoltaic systems, water capture for irrigation, solar lighting, low-mo, landscaping, and permeable pavers. So this is the wave of the future with sustainable construction, and they're leading the way. And in and around that area, you may have noticed there's also been a lot of construction over the last 3 or 4 years, and we're coming to our conclusion on our Shady Oak Road project that began all the way up near the crosstown and worked its way all across 212 with the latest bridge improvements. And that provides quite a bit of improved access for the new construction in that area, be it Optum, more access into the Golden Triangle, and there was a lot of federal and state money and grant money we were able to achieve to make that project come to fruition. So I will talk about Minnetonka for a second. Near the Optum site, the city was able to take a small army into Minnetonka and seize a small parcel of property that we annexed into our city. And so I think it's the first time in, 50 or 60 years, we're bigger than the 6x6, 36 square miles than we were before. We are a half an acre bigger. Eden Prairie is a half an acre bigger. And it was obviously a friendly annexation because it was just a small parcel of property on the south side of Highway 62 that Minnetonka was happy to give to the city of Eden Prairie. And actually, it's going to be part of a development to reorient the existing BP gas station and there could be a vacant parcel then that could be developed for a coffee shop or a retail. And that will serve Optum, and it will also serve the future LRT riders. The future LRT riders. Will there be future LRT riders? Again, this is something that I think there's a report that this is back in my Hopkins days too that I ran across that talked about light rail transit, the wave of the future, report dated 1977. But we're now to a point in the next month or two where this will go, this major public works project by the Metropolitan Council will go out to bid. And the quick update from a year ago would be that the 5 stations from an Eden Prairie perspective that were planned are now 4 stations with 1 deferred. So it's 3 stations with a deferred station. We hope that station will come back. The first or last station, Eden Prairie, depending on where you are, is that Optum City West station. The next station is in the Golden Triangle, and we're going to drive over there in a second. And then you're going to come into the town center, and then you're going to end or begin at Southwest Station, a multimodal facility for our friends at Southwest Transit and then Met Transit to have bus and light rail operations there as well. So the city council actually recently reviewed the 450 stall parking ramp that'll be added in addition to the almost 900 stall ramp that's there right now. And as I get to the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk about the other development that's out there related to that. But light rail, even though it still needs some funding at the state level, has secured its local funding and continues to keep its federal funding. As I mentioned, the next proposed light rail stop is in that Golden Triangle area near West 70th Street. And another neat little project was to actually construct or finish a new street, West 70th, to actually connect Shady Oak Road with Flying Cloud Road near where SuperValue headquarters, one of the SuperValue headquarters had been. The new news in that area, besides the road project and the additional streetscaping that was done, is Bluestem will be relocating its corporate campus there in the near future as well. And they're hoping to grow from, when they move in here in the spring into the summer, from 700 employees to over 1,200 employees. So that's a good reuse of that building and a good project in that area. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a business that may be leaving, but also a potential redevelopment opportunity. The Vikings, and if you read the paper just a couple days ago, are closing on the purchase in Egan of close to 200 acres of property. What you're looking at up there is 12 acres of property. So I think the writing has been on the wall for quite a while that they're very constricted. And with a highway in Washington Avenue, actually 2 highways, if you think about 169 and 494, and some of the geographical features, as much as we wanted them to stay and work with them, we knew that the site was constricted and difficult, and thus that's where you hear about, hundreds of acres of land in Egan. But the good news is, what a prime piece of real estate. A great redevelopment opportunity. So we're going to be working with the Vikings to redevelop that site. So next, that doesn't make sense. We must be either in Edina or Bloomington. Because if we're in Eden Prairie, the streets would be plowed. I mean, there's no, we must have somehow gotten on the other side of 169 and went into Edina. I apologize for that. But I do want to mention this past year, our city was one of 4 cities to receive a award from the League of Minnesota Cities on our services. And our particular service was a very exceptional level of service related to our snow plowing. We've invested quite a bit of time and energy, employee brainstorming, some money and technology to really up our game in the last 3 or 4 years with our snowplow operations. And the League of Minnesota Cities, the state association, gave us an award for our plowing. So we're very proud of that. If we head back and kind of get ready to wrap up the trip and maybe move back into the town center area and the middle of the city, people always want to hear about what are some of the new restaurants, retail businesses that are coming into the community. And this is just a sampling of those that came to Eden Prairie in the last year. They're not all necessarily in the town center. You have Pie 5 that's over on the west end of town near Kowalski's, and you have the Goji Brothers Korean Barbecue and the Bay Leaf that's in that Shady Oak business area. You have Naf Naf Grill in the Southwest Station area, the Lotus Leaf on Mitchell Road near JJ's there. And then a couple new grocery stores when Rainbow flipped over to a Lund's Byerly's, and almost all of the other Rainbows either closed or will close, but will not be converted to Lund's and Byerly's. I think it was just Woodbury and Eden Prairie that had that distinction. We now have an Aldi's and another pizza place. So it's always very interesting to know that other businesses and new businesses continue to invest in Eden Prairie. Oh, I want to save that for a second. I want to talk a little bit more before I kind of wrap up about some of the other projects that are happening too. Just this past year, and I think we've had a very solid economy. Our planning department has had a record number of planning applications. So if you think about those other projects that I already showed, we also have projects under review, such as a Hampton Inn on the existing IHOP site, and a senior apartment building that's proposed on the southwest quadrant of 169 and Pioneer Trail near Hennepin Town Road on the east side of town. And if you've seen the famous Dave's building that's been taken down, and that's going to be a new retail, I believe, a AT&T store and a Sleep Number store. There's proposals at Southwest Station where Santorini's is going to be redeveloped. Initially, the council approved retail uses there very similar to what's on the other side of the road, but now with LRT and potential development, they're looking at a mixed-use housing retail component. Anchor Bank is a redevelopment opportunity as well. So as I was saying before, we're developing the remaining pieces of Eden Prairie, but you're also starting to see a redevelopment in our community and reinvestment in the community as well. So I'd like to say, who would ever think that a water tower can catch on fire? But a water tower can catch on fire, and this is back many years ago, and at that time we then repainted the water tower. So now, 25 years later, we need to repaint it again, recoat it. And that's also a big project this year, similar to the entry monument signs. We need to repaint the tower. It's showing a little bit of rust and age, but it also gives us the opportunity to put a nice design that matches Eden Prairie as well. So that's another project you're going to hear about. And similar to the chamber and the school, we do survey our residents, just as we talked about the business survey, and we want to be a place that people want to live and feel that they're getting a value for the taxes they pay for the services that they receive. So we continue to see growth in people's feelings on the quality of life, and people feeling that Eden Prairie is a great place to live, to raise a family, not yet necessarily to retire is I think that percentage was in the 80s, so it's a high number, but it's not as high as the raising the children, a place to live in a neighborhood. But I want to wrap up the last couple minutes I have with a very brief video where we asked people what they thought was the best thing about Eden Prairie and what they love about Eden Prairie and places that they like to be.
What I love about Eden Prairie is the hockey program and how the community center where I always am playing hockey is right next to the high school, and I live near the community center and the high school, so it's easy access to everywhere.
We just loved Eden Prairie because of the educational system, and we drove along Highway 4 way back when it was open country, and Little Red was a shack. There was land for parks, land for a ball, and it got developed. And it's a beautiful system that we have out here now.
I love the community feel that everyone has and all the people and how they're all so welcoming and inclusive with everyone.
What do I not love about Eden Prairie? It's a great city. It's in the perfect location. It's close to all the amenities that our region has to offer within a reasonable driving distance. It's got a great balance of natural areas with developed areas. We've got housing for all different levels of income. We've got tons of restaurants here, great shopping. You really can get by pretty easily without even leaving Eden Prairie during the day. We have thousands and thousands of jobs here. We have a great school district. Everything's wonderful about Eden Prairie.
I think it's beautiful. It really, truly is. I have had friends from all over come to visit me and say, oh, I love your neighborhood. I have large, old trees. It's just beautiful.
The Human Resource Department at the community center here is excellent. We've noted that everybody has a different style, but it's all wonderful. So you go from yoga to the Silver Splash, the pool, to a beautiful new pool, which is like a spa. It is that nice.
I bet everybody has sort of a soft spot in their heart for their local park, and my local park is Starring Lake Park, and I think it's one of the real highlights of Eden Prairie. It's really got everything.
I love going to lakes. There's like Lake Riley, you can go swimming there. Starring Lake in the winter, you can go sledding. And Dunbrose to study, and different places, all the parks and stuff.
Well, it's Round Lake, of course, 4th of July activities.
I like to go to the community center, and I work out about 4 to 5 days a week.
Well, it really virtually changed life for my husband and I, our lifestyle, in a healthy lifestyle. And it began, this will be our 15th year exercising.
There are numerous things to do. Get you a cup of coffee, sit by a window, and watch the world and take part in it.
It's a great place to live, truly is.